Today we'll be diving into a job that acts as any team's anchor, being able to protect their allies, or at the very least, hold down the fort until they can get back up on their feet. The Shieldmaster. The Shieldmaster is the primary damage sponge job of Bravely Default 2, built to wear lots of protective gear to guard the other party members from as many dangers as possible, while being able to use their own weight to slam down on enemies with some pretty decent potency. The Shieldmaster also boasts a variety of support tools aside from cover that lets them provide aid to the party when their defenses aren't called for immediately. But let's take a quick look at their specialties first, starting with Protect Ally. This specialty will have the Shieldmaster step in to cover one of their allies who are below 20% maximum HP to take any incoming damage in their place, physical or magical. The damage reduction aspect of defaulting is also applied to the Shieldmaster during this, though they won't gain BP from defaulting like normal, it's just the damage reduction. Protect Ally applies to both physical and magical attacks, as I stated previously, along with single target or AoE moves. So as long as the Shieldmaster isn't afflicted with any ailment that inhibits their ability to act freely, such as paralysis or freeze, they can really guard their team from practically anything. Putting any gear that allows the Shieldmaster to be immune or absorb elements can be an incredibly evil combo, as they already have high physical resistances, along with some decent magic resistances, and can now negate all elemental attacks that threaten your party as well, making them nigh unstoppable in the defense department at least. The next specialty at the Shieldmaster's disposal is Chivalrous Spirit. When performing any of their cover-based abilities, like Protect Ally for example, the Shieldmaster will restore 1 BP and 10% of their maximum MP. This specialty simply rewards you for using the Shieldmaster's other skills, which in turn allows you to have more options during your combat phase with this job. You can use the extra BP and MP to dish out extra chip damage to a nearly defeated enemy, or spend it to get your team back in the fight with heals or items. Afterwards, end your turn by popping on another cover ability and regain those resources to repeat the process. The Shieldmaster's special move is Portcullis. This special move will raise the entire party's physical and magical defense by 30% for 3 turns. However, if you have the job at level 15, this will be increased to a 100% physical and magical defense buff, which is insane. The bonus effect of Portcullis is a 15% attack buff to the entire party. As you might have guessed, this can be used as an oh shit button when you're expecting an enemy to deal a massive amount of incoming damage, or just as insurance when you decide to play risky and don't want to lose it all if your plan goes bad. I actually really enjoy this specialty as a learning tool in boss fights, as that huge defense boost comes in handy when I'm trying to figure out an enemy counters or learning the pace of a battle. Now let's move on to the Shieldmaster's combat abilities, starting with Bodyguard and Defender of the People. Bodyguard is pretty simple. The user will target an ally, and if that ally is attacked, the Shieldmaster will step in and take the hit in their place. It's basically a more controlled version of Protect Ally without the need for the low HP requirement. Defender of the People will instead allow the user to take up to 3 hits for the entire party total. It isn't 3 hits for each ally, unfortunately, it's 3 hits for the entire party. Once again, Defender of the People is of the same vein as Protect Ally and Bodyguard, but with the ability to tank 3 hits across the board, rather than just focusing on one ally to protect. As I've mentioned with Protect Ally, these cover-based skills are quite good at their job, especially when played around properly, and are honestly one of the main reasons this job is commonly used in boss battles as a team's anchor, being able to keep the team alive and capable of pulling off very, very clutch saves in dire moments whenever their defenses aren't needed because, well, everyone's dead. Next up is Blinding Flash. This ability attempts to inflict blind on all targets. Elements are quite potent in Bravely Default 2, and blind is no exception. If you can land this, then make use of it, but if not, the Shieldmaster will benefit from attacks being landed on them anyhow. So, it's a win-win. Speaking of exploiting ailments, next is Crushed Ice and Bumblewhacker. I love that name. Both of these physical attacks deal increased damage based on whether a certain ailment has been applied to their targets. Freeze for Crushed Ice, and Confuse for Bumblewhacker. If you have any means of applying either ailment, use the enemy's inability to fight back properly to your advantage and beat the crap out of them. Next up is Reprisal and Harsh Reprisal. For a set duration of turns, any amount of damage received to the user will be sent back to their attackers. Reprisal lasts for 5 turns and returns 50% of any incoming damage, while Harsh Reprisal lasts for 3 turns and returns 100% of any incoming damage. That's a lot of returns. Only one of these buffs can be active at a time, so pick whether duration or potency is more important to you at any given time. Though do note that this attack might not be the most useful as a damage tool for the Shieldmaster themselves, as mitigating damage is kind of their forte. So you might look into putting this on a job or build that can really make some waves with this, even if just the minor chip damage this will be doing with the Shieldmaster is enough for you. Next is Heavy Hitter and Super Heavy Hitter. Both of these skills scale their damage with the weight of the equipment in the user's left hand. You can definitely get some respectable damage out of this, especially since the Shieldmaster will very likely have something incredibly bulky in both hands, but the BP cost can be a little steep for most of the game. Be sure to play around that if you want to make use of these actions. Also, one last little thing to note is that bows specifically do not give any bonus to this action at all, since they aren't counted as being left-handed weapons. So don't use a bow when trying to make use of these skills at all. Next is the Gift of Wisdom. This ability will donate 33% of the user's maximum MP to a target of their choosing. If they have less than 33% of max MP to give, the remaining amount of MP that they do have will be donated instead. Use this as a means of providing aid to a healer low on mana to heal the team, or to an MP-based attacker who's been guzzling their own resources too fast. Note that you can gain back your own MP fairly easily by just keeping your team alive thanks to Protect Ally and Chivalrous Spirit, so this action won't set the Shieldmaster back too much. And last for combat abilities is Firmly Grounded. This ability will boost the user's magic attack and MP based on their current weight. Any encumbrance debuffs are ignored while this buff is active as well. In certain cases, you can make a super bulky caster that can make use of this buff to deal some pretty insane damage numbers. I mean, look at this. But now let's move on to the Shieldmaster's passives, starting with Dual Shields. It's exactly what it sounds like. You can equip and make use of 2 shields rather than just 1. You won't be able to use basic attacks, but most abilities will still function as normal. This is primarily used to get most out of the defense boosts and elemental resistances that shields can grant you, so don't forget to try this out if you feel too weak to survive anything, or you just really want to make yourself invincible. Next is the Courage to Resist. With this passive equipped, the user will no longer gain BP when defaulting, but will now nullify almost every ailment in the game. This can be a good passive, especially early on when you can just get BP back with Protect Ally and Chivalrous Spirit, but in the later parts of the game when you can just get immunities through other passives here, this one can kind of fall under the radar. Use it when necessary, but it probably won't be sticking around too long. Next is Fast Hands. This passive will flip any speed reductions caused by equipment in the user's hands to become additions instead. Quite handy for a job that obviously needs all the help that it can get in that department, but other jobs that might rely on high speed and fast turnaround on actions can make use of this as well. And last up is No Guts, No Glory. This passive will increase the user's physical and magical defense as their BP rises, but will in turn lower their defenses as their BP falls. With how much BP the Shieldmaster will be earning by just doing its job, this passive will make them harder to kill with each attack blocked. And as long as you aren't getting too carried away, you shouldn't really ever be putting yourself in a situation where you'll be swept away by any attack just like that. Just be a bit more mindful about how much BP you're spending per turn, but otherwise, this can just make an already beefy tank even beefier. If it wasn't already obvious, the Shieldmaster is quite good at staying alive, and keeping others alive as well. It's almost to the point where you can realistically approach every encounter in the game with one of these in your team, and you'll be able to at least get all the information you need to devise a plan for victory next time, as there are very few fights in this game that have the ability to just shut down the Shieldmaster and anything it can do. But that doesn't mean that we can't try to cover those blind spots with some sub-jobs. If you want your Shieldmaster to be able to dish out some decent damage on the side, the Vanguard is a pretty good and easy to master pick. With its attack-lowering debuffs, earth elemental attacks like Quick Blade, and super hard-hitting single-target attacks, you can't really go wrong. The specialties from the Vanguard can also help the Shieldmaster be more aggressive in battles, fitting them as sort of a sub-damage dealer that can also defend the party quite well. My personal favorite combo is definitely with the Salve Maker though, as this can easily become your only sustained character on the field, capable of defending the party quite well and throwing out potent healing salves when the need arises. The Oracle and Bastion are also not bad either, allowing the Shieldmaster to throw in some buffs that aid the party or hinder the enemy in some meaningful way, especially with Elemental Impairment or Sanctuary. There is a lot that this job can provide aside from just getting their faces caved in for fun, so be free to experiment and see what works for you. Overall, the Shieldmaster is a wonderful addition to almost any party that prioritizes the survival of others through taking as much of the punishment as possible to themselves. Although they can also throw some strong punches when the time calls for it. Because of how its specialties work, this job can have a lot of surprisingly effective synergies that might not make sense at first glance, but can be really, really good. However, despite the amount of creativity you can get from this face tank job, there are some clear standouts amongst their move pool that really do steal the show and can make the job feel kind of like a one-trick pony first, and honestly, that isn't inaccurate. It really does take thinking outside of the box, and also being pretty late in the game, to really let this job shine in other ways that isn't just spamming Bodyguard or Defender of the People. Also, despite having many ways of improving it, this job is so painfully slow sometimes, to the point that your party could often be entirely wiped out before the Shieldmaster can even have a chance to set up. This needs to be addressed before tackling anything super serious in the game, or you won't make it too far with this job. And now time for the fashion tier list. Honestly, my opinions on the Shieldmaster's outfit is pretty middle of the road. Not bad, but, not gonna be winning any awards. They definitely look like walking fortresses, which I will admit is pretty damn cool. If I had to pick a personal favorite of the bunch, I would definitely give it to Adele, as I like the striking blue color of her banner on her chest that goes against her gray armor. It's very striking, especially compared to the black and gray of the boys and the silver that Gloria has. It's a solid design overall that sets out what it needs to do. It looks like the tank job of the game. Put all the jobs on a lineup, I would definitely be like, yep, this is the tank job. It's alright. Solid B tiers all around, but Adele's going to get a pretty comfy A tier spot.